Hi, welcome to another episode of OC Jewish Cooking Connections. And today we have Greg and Sherry Weissman with us.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourselves.
I was raised in the San Fernando Valley, came to Orange County for my first career, and I spent 30 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And meanwhile, my husband was very active in the culinary business, and so I got to help him along the way.
That sounds terrific. How about you?
Well, I was born in Culver City and moved to the Valley, where I was luckily met my wife. And we've lived in Orange County and belonged to Temple Beit Tikva for 28 years.
That's amazing. All right, so tell me a little bit about what we're going to be making today.
So today we're going to make a savory zucchini kugel. In Israel, it's known as a pashtida.
Yes.
Pashtida.
Pashtida, exactly.
And it's parv.
Okay.
It's a Passover dish.
Perfect.
And I've been a caterer all my career, and it's something I've used when I've done seders at different temples.
All right, sounds amazing. Let's get started. So what's the first thing we need to do?
Well, we're going to do this in 2 batches.
Okay.
We can't do it all in the food processor
Right.
at the same time.
All right.
So first we're going to start with half of the green onions.
All right, perfect. Now, because we're putting this in the food processor, you can just roughly chop all the ingredients. You're just making it easier for the food processor, but you don't have to spend a lot of time
Right, no.
in nicely chopping all the ingredients.
And half of the eggs.
All right, half the eggs.
Which is challenging because there's 5, but we'll put 3 in one and 2 in the
It's all going to
All
wind
right.
up in the same bowl, so it really doesn't have to be perfect.
Perfect, all right.
And half of the onions.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, half of the onion.
And we're going to blend that till it's smooth, but not you'll still see pieces of it in there, but we're not going to make a pate out of it.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna start, and does it matter if it's on high or low or anything?
I usually start on pulse.
Okay.
Be good.
All right, so we still have a little bit of pieces in there. It's not completely blended, but it's nice and chopped up and mixed together. All right, so now before we add the rest of our ingredients for this batch, we're gonna scrape the sides a little bit just to make sure nothing is stuck.
Right, and then we're going to add the other half of the ingredients.
All right.
And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because eventually it's all going to go in one bowl.
All right, perfect. So we've scraped down the sides, and now we're gonna add the rest of our vegetables, right?
Yes.
So we have half of our carrots. All right, and we've got zucchini. All right, and potatoes. This looks delicious. Now, if you are going to pre-cut your potatoes, go ahead and soak them in cold water. That way they won't brown and
All the
oxidize.
starch comes off.
All right, so that's
Okay,
about
that's
half
good.
of the potatoes. All right, and now are we gonna pulse it again? Or are we just gonna turn it on?
Pulse it to start to get it going, and then you can go a little further with a little higher.
All right.
Let me take a look. I think that's perfect.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add this mixture into our bowl. I like taking out my blade while I am working,
Smart move.
just so that it doesn't fall out as I'm pouring the ingredients out. We're just gonna lay it there. So we're basically just nicely chopping all of our ingredients together. We're not pureeing it.
Correct.
All right,
And
so,
we can then repeat.
all right, so we're gonna put that back, and now we're putting all the rest of our ingredients. So we have, now, before we started this, I went ahead and I put our pan
In the oven.
in the oven. So it's heating up while we are preparing everything, and that way it's ready and hot.
It's important because it'll cook more evenly in the top so the top won't burn.
Amazing. So basically we're heating up the cooking dish first, and then it'll help evenly cook it. It doesn't need to take time to cook itself.
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and again take that blade out just to prevent injuries. All right.
Okay.
All right, so
Got it.
right now it seems like there's a lot of vegetables in here. It seems very, very healthy and delicious. You can smell the onions. It already smells great.
Very savory.
All right, so what do we have?
We're gonna add the matzo meal.
Okay, so this has matzo meal because you also said it was a Passover recipe.
It's part of the
If
recipe.
we wanted to make it with something else, could we use flour instead of matzo meal? Or if we wanted to make it gluten-free, could
Sure.
we use gluten-free flour?
Like an almond flour.
I don't see why not.
yeah.
I've never used it myself.
All right, so I mean, the matzo meal here is really a tiny amount compared to the amount of vegetables
Right.
you have here. It's just kind of soaking up some of that moisture and kind of combining it with the eggs. So I really do think if you want to make it gluten-free, I wouldn't do without anything, but I would do a gluten-free flour, whichever one you normally use. If you don't have matzo meal on hand, instead of buying a whole container, you could definitely use just regular flour instead. So what we just added a little bit of seasoning, we added salt and pepper. And really, you don't need a lot of seasoning here because you're getting all of that flavor from
All of
the
it.
onions and the vegetables that we have in here. All right, and then our last ingredient, we're gonna be adding some margarine.
Well, we're going to take the pan out.
All right, so our pan. And the oven for this was heated to 400 degrees. So it's very hot. All right, we're gonna keep this on here. All right.
So we're going to put half of the margarine in. Traditionally, it could be made with schmaltz, but we'll make it a little bit heavier, healthier.
And you can hear, I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but you can hear that sizzle because the pan is very hot as we're adding that margarine.
As it's supposed to be.
Ooh.
Okay, and then we can pour everything in. So blend it out.
Sure.
All right, and then we still have the other half of the margarine.
And that goes on top and spread on top.
All right, okay.
Okay.
All right, that's nice and flat. And now our other half of the margarine.
Just drizzle it over the top and
Scrape it out.
spread it.
So this is really quick once you have all of your ingredients kind of roughly chopped and prepared. It's just a few minutes in the food processor. Your oven needs to be hot and you can really have it ready in about 10 minutes and put it in the oven. And that's it.
Another 20.
All right.
Easy.
All right, great. So I'm gonna put that in the oven. And again, we said that's at 400 degrees. Okay, so while we're waiting for our pashtidat to cook in the oven, I just wanted to clarify the reason that we did our onions first with the eggs. Why do we want to mix that first before we add the rest of our vegetables?
It's going to be a finer chop and it'll be make it fluffy.
Okay.
And then we add the others and it'll be a little larger cut. And together it's just right. So
right.
actually we're just trying to raise the volume in it.
Okay, so we're getting the eggs a little bit mixed when they're not with so much vegetables, but we're also cutting the onions a little bit finer so we get more of that flavor and not larger chunks in our mixture. All right, and now tell me a little bit about your temple.
Well, we've been there for 28 years. We have raised our children and our grandkids there, and we've been blessed with having Rabbi Marcia Tilchin as our interim rabbi for the last year. She's brought so many fabulous things, and this being one of them. We have Hilltop Players, which is the performers of the teenage group that's theater, and so Orange County is kind of realizing that in North Orange County, in our little circle, that we have all kinds of opportunities there.
And Rabbi Tilchin really did a successful job in leading us from one rabbi departing to a new rabbi who just started, Rabbi Maddie Kirschenbaum. And we're very, very excited about that.
That sounds great. All right, it smells delicious in here. Let's go get our pashtita out of the oven.
Let's do it.
All right, so it's nice and brown on top and through the sides, you can see. We're gonna cut that up.
And it's a very easy dish to make, catering for large amounts, because you can portion it and do it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just have it warmed up.
So if you wanted to use a larger dish, would you just double the quantities, or would you just do two separate?
Well, actually, it depends how many people I'm doing it for, but a lot of times I'll use the full-size aluminum pans. And
Okay.
that works also. You get about 30 portions out of one of those. So you're doing for 150 people, and you're doing it 5 times.
That's great.
And
then
that's
this-
also a trick too, when you're multiplying recipes out. It's not exactly always 25 times the recipe. You have to make some other adjustments.
Yeah. All right, and this is a perfect veggie side to any meat dish that you want to make.
Great with brisket.
That sounds perfect. All right, let's try this. Smells delicious here. It smells like home, and it's nicely cooked through. Have one.
Great.
Delicious. Thank you again for being with us today.